Cool. So welcome to our episode on AI slop with Hannah Carlson, my friend from high school, who is way more than just my friend from high school. Sean, I don't know if Hannah told you this. Hannah and I went to high school together. We kind of reconnected
I found
after.
That out right now.
Yeah,
shout out Omaha.
Shout out Omaha. Both New Yorkers both Omahans living in New York. Yeah. We were both in band together. Hannah was significantly better than me.
I don't think that's true.
What were the instruments?
I was percussion.
I was trumpet. So
the cool kids all were percussion. I was
Hannah,
not
weren't you a drum major?
No. Oh my gosh, no. Too much stress.
I feel like you ran something. I feel like you were good. Like I feel like there was something that you did.
Was I maybe like a section leader or something? Is that a thing? That was a thing, right? I don't know how I've seemingly blocked out half of my high school experience, but
yeah, no, shout out Mr. Plotchek. Mr. Plotchek, if you listen to our random AI podcast,
oh my gosh,
I don't think he really liked me very much. Because I don't think I was very good. But Mr. Plotchek, if you listen to our AI episode, shout out to you.
Kindest human ever. Genuinely one of the best people I've ever met. The guy who predated him, Mr. Rathman, my God, he took every opportunity to absolutely annihilate me at everything that he could. That was kind of his MO.
One time there was this girl in that class that I had a crush on, and we were kind of like winking at each other across the class, and he stopped class and just berated both of us for like 20 minutes until I think both of us were in tears.
I'm gonna. If anyone knows this Mr. Rathman, I want him at the Christmas party this year. So let's find this guy and bring him in.
We're friends on Facebook. We're friends on Facebook.
Oh wow!
I can find him.
So it's pretty serious, Ivy.
It's pretty serious. No. Listen. I remember nice people, but I also remember being berated in front of the entire classroom for being a simple boy with a crush.
That's on high school trauma.
Yeah. That's on high school trauma.
I'm Ibi Syed.
I'm Sean Collins.
And this is Numbers and Narratives.
Yeah, okay, so Hannah, why don't we start off by talking a little bit about your background and what you're doing now?
Yes.
Everything from section leader to
Let's go all the way back to 2015, or I guess sooner than that. Yikes. So I've been in B2B SaaS for most of my career so far. Been in a bunch of different areas, but all within kind of the performance marketing area, and really saw kind of a big opportunity with a lot of the automation and AI that's come about recently. I think I've been the first and a lot of times only marketer at a couple startups now, and that's so challenging. There's so much to do. There's never enough time and bandwidth and resources. I think now things are really, changing where the little guys have just as much opportunity as the bigger guys. And so really saw, I kind of always thought, oh, I can just brute force anything. I can get through whatever, no one's going to work harder. And that has completely shifted within the last couple of years of work smarter, not harder, and actually be, doing the right things. So I think really wanted to build an agency where we are focused on helping companies build. So we're not a marketing agency, we're a growth agency, whether that means sales, marketing, operations, customer success, but specifically with an automation and AI focus, using those wherever we can so that the humans can focus on the things that AI cannot do, which is strategy, relationship building, all of those important pieces. So, and of course, doing all of this without additional headcount. So that's what we're focused on right now, mainly helping B2B SaaS companies.
When you say that the little guys have more opportunity, have just as much opportunity as the big guys, I don't know the exact words that you just said, but do you mind actually going into what that means? What was possible? What was only possible before if you were a large company? I've got some ideas, but I kind of want to hear it from you.
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is when I was at different startups where I was the only marketer. I mean, budget obviously is a huge constraint, and you may be able to hire contractors, but having the budget to be able to work with different, contractors that have different specialties, I think is really challenging. Having your focus be in all of these different areas where you're focused on social media, but then you need to focus on life cycle and actually nurturing the pipeline that you are getting. I think it's just a lot easier now to split your focus and be able to do more with less resources in terms of people, bandwidth, and costs. And so I think now, everyone's talking about like, when are we going to see the first, you know, unicorn that's a one person show? I think we're a ways away from that, obviously, but it's a really neat concept to think about because I think it's definitely going to be possible at some point, given there's just so much that you can automate now and you can leverage AI where you don't necessarily need a full content team, social team, sales team, SDRs and AEs. Like there's just a lot more that you can do with less.
So okay.
Wait, but like
go for
we're
it. Go
getting
for it.
close to that already. Like, do you know Base 44? Have you heard of this tool?
I don't think so. No. What is that?
It's like, no offense to Base 44, it is a
They'll be
knockoff
listening.
of like Lovable. Yeah, oh yeah, they're
Oh, okay.
rapacious fans.
Yeah, we use Lovable.
But his company, it was one dude. He built it in 6 months and sold to Wix for like $80 million.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
So like,
I mean, that's similar.
It is real that you can now do crazy things and have a pretty quick exit
Yeah.
if you can move fast.
Yeah, that's similar to our B2B, which did a similar thing of, I think there were less than 5 people, I want to say 3 or 4 people on his team. And within less than a year, they're at like several million in ARR.
Okay. Wait. I think Adam Robinson is a huge fucking liar. Like, I'm gonna go out on this podcast and there's no possible way that any of those like metrics, he posts just like some insane metric on. Do you think that it's actually true? Like, as a user of R2B2B, like we have R2B2B, it is way worse than all the other ones.
But it's also he already had the product and then just like reskinned it and made it RB2B, right? Like there was a consumer version and that was behind all there was all the Klaviyo scandal and stuff like that. And then he just made a B2B version.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's built a big company, but like he only sort of built it that fast, right? Like they just
but do you think
the
that
same product and put a new brand on
it? It's just his whole build in public shtick seems to, I don't know, Hannah, like tell me I'm incorrect. Like we try to fight on this podcast.
We'll never know.
Okay,
I think that
enough.
he honestly, I've like read some things online about his like their use of data, and I think like he has maybe some questionable ethics. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he really has grown this fast, but
well, here to
is
talk
he doing
about
it the right
business
way?
ethics,
Who knows?
I'd like to welcome Adam Robinson to the show.
Yeah, right.
It just like pops up and he goes,
I
"Hey,
think
I'm gonna end you."
Yeah, I think a huge part of his like why they've been able to grow this fast is honestly just him having a platform on LinkedIn, which he already had. So I don't know if like kind of the everyday person could do that.
Yeah, that's
okay. Okay.
So who knows whether
checking...
his data is correct or not? Who knows?
Like, okay. Let me look at the last few months of data. Oh, I have to freaking buy all this. Ugh. I'm trying to figure out like he posts his numbers going up, but I think off of SimilarWeb, there's been like a pretty steady decline in traffic to his site. Which is I think the only way that you can install it. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's like people that are upselling.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I wish I still had the pro version of SimilarWeb. I've got like website traffic. Whatever. We'll stop talking about Adam Robinson. Yeah, so going back to what we were talking about though, I'd love a couple examples. Like, can you talk to me about like something that was like just for, because like not all of our listeners are sales folks. They all are. I would try to
Yeah.
characterize our users in my ideal head as AI curious. What is like the what is your, like, can you give us an example of what something that you had to do manually at one of your other jobs, or something that sales teams have to do manually,
Yeah.
and like how AI makes it easier? And yeah.
Yeah. I think so my personal, like, what I enjoy the most is the strategy and solving problems. And I think everything else, generally a lot of that can be automated. So one of the things that I used to always dread in previous in-house roles was I always loved getting to analyze the data, but as far as pulling the data and from 10 different tools and having to put it in a nice format that you can send out every Monday was pretty much the worst thing ever. So now every Monday our customers are getting, an automated dashboard that not only shares the data and the main takeaways, but also recommends next steps. And they're getting that via Slack every Monday. And then I can go in and reply to that and say, okay, I agree with this. Here's what I think we need to do. Here's a good next step. It's a lot more tactical, and you can, kind of develop the strategy faster and implement faster. So that used to be just a huge pain in the butt. The other things that I think I'm not, which is kind of funny because I also minored in English and World Film Studies, but I'm not the biggest writer. I don't love writing. And so I think anything that starts with writing, which I know we talked about AI slop, but I think that if you can at least start from a place of, I'd rather just edit and revise than like start completely from scratch. But I know other people do it the opposite way. But I think there's just a lot of different pieces here that if you can leverage AI to make it a little bit easier so that you're focusing on highly strategic activities, why wouldn't you, essentially?
That's very interesting.
I like that. I guess like where do you draw the line, right? Like who have you seen that's like doing this well versus like what is like a good execution of this versus like what's a poor execution of this? Because like, look, we run like a company that helps with automation, obviously. And the thing that surprises me the most, and I'll try to make this concrete, is like just how lazy people seem to be. Like a great example is when I started the company, I hired a handful of interns to help me write cold emails, right? Because like YC's whole shtick back in 2022 was like one founder should be building and one founder should like be writing emails. And it was basically just like it's a numbers game. Like you do outreach, you talk to customers, you close deals. And it was just like a process, and they kind of, a lot of people like shoehorn that process. And then, somebody like me who was an engineer had to learn how to write cold emails. And the process that everyone told me is like, hey, like you got to personalize, you have a layer of personalization, you go to their LinkedIn profile, you find somebody to connect with them on, you write like a block of something about your company, and then you close with like something that's personal to them or their company. That is actually a cold email that introduced me to Sean. Like we went, and I found it at some point, but the way that I met Sean was through a cold email that was formatted that way. Now, I see like a lot of that kind of thing where people have clearly like had an AI bot go pull me on Apollo and be like, oh, saw that you lived in Omaha, Nebraska, go Huskers. And then it would be like, saw that Coterra is like, and then like, and then at the bottom end, it's like, oh, really cool how Coterra is helping blah, 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 do blah, blah, blah. That's so like insightful to me. And you just read that and you're like, one, this is AI generated. Two, this is like sloppy. Like I'm upset by how poorly you used artificial intelligence to try to like trick me into talking to you. Like, I don't know, there's so many things. Like if you're trying to sell me, if you're selling me, if you're writing to me and saying that you have like 10 different leads for my company and you use AI to help me get those leads, then if it's that easy for you, then like give me a lead, right? Like put like a lead in my inbox that says, hey, like here are some leads, also like this person, right? Here's like an example of someone based on your seller profile that you should be able to sell to. We think that you could reach out to this person. Here's data about them, and here's like what an AI message might look like. And if you're trying to sell me like leads, then give me a lead, right? If you're trying to sell me better marketing, sell me some marketing. Like you can look at my website and like generate me imagery. It might be shit, but it's a whole hell of a lot better than like fake personalizing something. Sorry, this is like my rant.
I want
Right.
to quick say, if any of you send me imagery, I'm reporting it as spam and I'm never talking to you. So send that to Ibby. Don't send me attachments
Send me imagery.
with
Send me
images and
imagery.
stuff like
I
that.
won't. I will not send. I will not. I respond to emails that I think are creative and get my attention. But it's just
Yeah,
sometimes I just
same.
look at it and I'm like, man, like you guys are just like pulling my profile into clay and like just having like a
Yeah.
clay AI like bulk write like something personal. Like, you know what I mean? Prompting it well.
Right. Yeah, I think it comes down to it's not outbound's really tricky because if you mess up one little piece, immediately you've lost them. Like I got an outbound the other day from someone who was talking about our sales team. I was like, we don't even have a sales team. And I think if you looked at any of my LinkedIn posts, you'd probably know that, or you could guess. So I think it's less about, completely automating something like that, and more so I'd say about automating the right things that can be easily automated and done well so that you can focus on those pieces that need to be 100% personalized. So like for example, right now I just got this idea for a like outbound campaign that involves sending cookies. There's more to it. It's not just sending cookies, but the only that is obviously there's nothing that can be automated about that really. But the reason I have the bandwidth to do that is because all these other pieces have been automated. So I don't have to, focus on writing a new case study from scratch or prepping for another sales call that I have when I can literally just take our notes from Fathom, the note taker that we use, and have that, develop a sales deck that's specific to that customer. So I think it's less so about just automating things because you can automate them and automating the right things, which is like what we're really focused on at Inertia is more so what is the strategy? What should you be automating? What can you? A lot of people don't know what even the opportunities are and what could be automated, and then actually implementing that automation. So I think it's not just about building workflows because you can build a workflow. If you're spending 5 hours to build a workflow that barely saves you any time, have you really won there? I would say no.
I love
How do
that.
you feel about so I think one of the things that I've noticed, and this is coming from like my personal experience, right? Is like I was very skeptical of AI. Then I was like literally told like you have to use AI. And this
Who
is at
told you
my
that?
last job. My
Oh,
last
okay.
boss it was when I was just starting to get hyped up, and so it was like, hey, everyone should be on this. Like you should be looking for ways to incorporate this into your workflow. And I sucked at it. Right? Like I've talked to you about like I've gotten better at AI, but like it is a skill to prompt well and to know like what to do and how to do it. So I
Which,
do
by the
wonder if
way,
there are.
everybody is learning right now. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone's an
exactly right.
expert yet because it's literally evolving.
But so I think there's also some component of like, yeah, maybe it'll take longer to build it as an automation, but
Yeah,
to some level, just try automating things. And even if it doesn't work out or you
yeah,
figure out why it sucks or what you could do. But I do think we're at a place where right now there is some wiggle room to figure out what's going on and how to use AI well. In a couple years, this is just going to be the default way of working. And so
right,
you can either learn now and try it out now, or you can be behind in a couple
right.
years.
Completely agree. It's also a matter of like the old matrix of urgency, priority, and what's the impact overall. So, like, one of the things that we're automating just internally for Inertia, because I obviously am a human and humans make mistakes. So, we're working on basically setting up a full flow that reminds me whenever I need to follow up with someone via email or Slack. If someone has not responded to me in a matter of 3, 5, however many days, and I've deemed it as like important, then it's pinging me to let me know, hey, you haven't heard from this person. Follow up with them. So those are the things that, yes, I can probably get most of them, but if you drop one lead and that was the one lead that was potentially willing to buy from you, you've already like lost the race. I think that's when I was looking at cookie vendors, I obviously wanted to support something local, but I was also looking at this national website that basically was cheaper and I thought might be faster. And I wanted to get this done pretty urgently. And so I reached out to them because I had a question on what they were basically defining as a couple different things. So I wasn't following exactly what I needed to order. And so I sent them a question and yes, they were cheaper, but they took more than 2 days to get back to me versus I had already had multiple back and forth questions and answers with someone that was local here. And so I ended up going with them, even though they also were not the cheapest, but they were responsive. I trusted them. And those are the things that you could be automating so that you can get first to the lead. You can follow up. A lot of times you're winning the deal if you're just fastest. And so those are the things that like really matter. So I think it goes back to what's the impact and how urgent and, what's the highest priority.
That's a good point. I mean, there is something to that on the speed side, right? Like maintaining momentum through a sales process is like so critical. And I think that's actually something we haven't really talked about as a value prop of like automating away some of the other stuff. But we talk a lot about, hey, this will let you focus on the high leverage things. And I think sometimes we forget that one of the highest leverage things you can do is just be insanely responsive and kind of keep momentum going. Make sure that people don't get lost in their own process or their own calendar and actually get something across the line.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny that you say that because there's a broker that I had worked with when I lived in Chicago, and his whole shtick is he will be the fastest to respond. Anytime I ever had a question, literally within a minute, he would be responding. And you could argue that maybe that's not the best, healthiest, most balanced way to live your life, but it certainly worked. He's known as the number one guy in Chicago because he is literally he's got a bunch of people working for him, but he's the one that's still responding to a lot of things, and it's all done manually by him. Which, of course, a lot of that you could be automating. And the ironic part of the cookie example is the question that I had definitely could have been easily responded to by an AI bot. Um, I, so that's another example of that's really low risk and that just, that could have saved a whole deal for them. So,
I like that a bunch. Where do you think the future is of this? Like, what do you think? Like, where do you think if you had to project this out 5 years, Sean said this, and I think you've said this too, is AI is just going to become like the de facto like sort of tooling that we use to do this kind of work. What do you think the future looks like? Like what do you think a modern sales team, a modern SDR team, a modern growth team looks like? What do you think people's roles are? I don't like, I mean, obviously some people subscribe to the idea that like, oh, everyone's going to like lose their jobs. I feel like people will just companies reinvest in growth. Like if they're seeing that a channel is useful, they will just they're going to spend that money to try to make more money. And it's just going to probably be in things that AI shouldn't do. What do you think? Like, what do you think the persona looks like compared to where it is today? And what do you think gets automated away?
yeah, I think anything that doesn't require much thought can be and will be automated. So anything that you're doing today manually that, when people block their calendars and they say, okay, this is my focus time. This is the hardest, deepest work that I need to do. And I really need to think through this versus I'll do these activities in the late afternoon because my brain doesn't have to be at 100%. Those are the things that I think are going to be automated. But I I definitely don't think we're going to lose nearly as many jobs as people think. I think it will just look a lot different because I think when you think about where AI applies, yes, we're talking about in the context of SaaS and tech, but there's going to be people that need to orchestrate AI systems at hospitals and many other industries that have not traditionally used a ton of AI. So I think there's just going to be more opportunities in different areas. But I really see the future as being, obviously we don't know. We'll have to see. But I think it will be a lot more orchestration and focusing on the strategy and relationship building. I think a lot of people think AI is so detrimental. It could be really bad. Well, yes, there's always going to be bad actors. There are always going to be negatives. Nothing is perfect. I think it's also true that there's going to be a lot of upside and a lot of positives coming from this as well. Like a lot of like medical breakthroughs, companies being able to scale faster, a lot of companies saving money because they, can use automation for certain things. I think like certain roles are just going to look a little bit different. I think it was Sean, I was listening to one of you guys' podcasts previously where you guys were talking about content. And I think you were basically saying that like SEO has like ruined content marketing because it is, all the blog posts nowadays are written by AI. So I think when people are thinking about content, it's going to be a lot more like human focused. I actually think that it will return back to, okay, instead of reading a blog post that was written by ChatGPT, let's create a video or, a podcast or whatever that is centers on humans and is more thoughtful. And again, goes back to like human relationships. So who knows what the future will hold, but I think it'll be a lot more like orchestration.
Yeah, that's So what I was googling on the side while you were talking about that was autopilot. Autopilot has been around since the 1970s, and autopilot, including the landing feature, has been standard since the 80s, and we still have 2 to 3 pilots in the cockpit at all times, right? So like, I think that orchestration is the perfect word for it. I think there's some level of like contingency planning and like what if something goes wrong where we still want humans ready to jump in. I think there's some level of like taste that we aren't going to ever want to offboard completely, and then that human component I think is absolutely critical. I think I completely agree with you there, Hannah.
Yeah, taste is that's a really good way to put it. Cause I think when I am sitting down to write a LinkedIn post, no one knows my exact sense of humor, the things that I would joke about, no, AI doesn't know that I like Fleetwood Mac and that I want to talk about Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham in a LinkedIn post. So those are the things that I think, I think it honestly facilitates a greater creativity and kind of a return to that more thoughtful creativity, which is, I think, really fun and exciting. I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of happens in as far as employee engagement goes, just because I think people could be doing things that they enjoy more. Like I never wanted to pull data, but I love focusing on the strategy of what to do with that data and what that means going forward. So I think potentially people could have a lot more enjoyable jobs.
Yeah, it's a
I think
great
that that's
point.
right. I think that that's right. I do think that that does require like more people to want that kind of thing. And like
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wonder if there is like a portion of the workforce that wants to do that, right? Like I think that you have
Yeah.
to kind of like I think more people I think that not all knowledge
Wants to
workers
do
might be
which side, Abby? Which side?
the knowledge worker side, right? Like if you think of like the strategic, the non like it's just a lot. It's very very different from the way that our like education system works and our office employment system works. Like even sort of like quote unquote white collar knowledge worker jobs are sometimes very process oriented, and I think that we probably have to change our education system a pretty significant amount to be able to get the world into that place. Is like kind of my thesis there. I don't know. Feel free to disagree on that one.
Yeah.
I I
I
don't
agree.
I just don't understand what you so you what are you saying needs to change, that people aren't learning how to think as a systems thinker, or that they aren't critical thinking, or like
I think
what portion do
both,
you think
right?
people won't want to do?
I think that I think there's a significant portion of the population that probably hasn't been trained, isn't foundationally, like, I don't think our education system necessarily always pushes
Is
people
good.
to critically think or to think in like a systems way. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that to be able to excel at the jobs that Hannah's talking about, because I agree, I think that that's the way the world's going to go, is like more people are going to get to work on more interesting, more strategic things. Um, there's a couple pieces of anecdotal evidence that I find interesting, Hannah, and I'm curious to see what you, and Sean, obviously, what you both think, is like a lot of the types of conversations I have with people that are exploring AI is the automation of the analysis piece, where it's like, oh, like I really want this AI to like solve churn for me. Like tell me like what, like help me like solve churn. And it's like, okay. But like you want to outsource like the only part of your, you want to outsource objectively like the only part of the thing that like you probably know better than a bot, or can like think about at a much deeper level than a bot. And
Exactly.
it's interesting to kind of think about what people do try to throw the bots way. Um, which makes me wonder. It makes me think that we need to have like a paradigm shift of some kind. I don't know.
Yeah. People just at this stage, not that many people know how to effectively use AI and automation at this point. I think it's a huge learning curve that everyone's going to have to figure out, including, um, companies, like how there's sales enablement teams. Maybe there's going to be AI enablement teams for the whole company, not just sales, but marketing, finance, account, everything. I think it's definitely there's going to be a lot of shifts. And to your point, like, for example, one of the things that I had to do a lot in my film classes in college was basically watch a film and then we'd have to write a paper on it. Well, now anyone can go home and ChatGPT a paper about that film. So, maybe they're going to have to stay for an hour after watching the film and write it right then and there on the spot. Maybe that's, how we're evaluating whether you're, really understanding and, something. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if, like, kind of my whole career, I feel like and this is going back to that analysis, like outsourcing analysis piece. I feel like at every job I've ever had, everyone, the whole marketing team, when I was agency side, clients were always asking for, like, the aspiration was like strategy. How do we become more strategic and less tactical and less in the weeds? Uh, and then you hear like what you're saying, Ibby, where people are like, let's outsource, let's just put a bunch of numbers through ChatGPT and see what it spits out, and we'll come up with a strategy. It's like, wait, how are both of those happening at the same time, where AI sort of gives you the ability to automate the execution of so many things? And so theoretically, yeah, this is finally your chance to, like, we can all be more focused on the strategy, the what and the why. But then, Ibby, you're saying everyone just wants to have some sort of program just spit out the what and the why. So it's almost like existential, like, well, what? I don't know. It feels like we almost like solved a problem that people said they had, and now we like want the other side of that coin.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. Should we Hannah, any thoughts there?
I think it kind of goes back to how we treat AI and, like, Ibby, what you said on the Cotera webinar a few weeks ago about basically when you're prompting AI, how are you thinking about it? And, how would you explain this to an intern, for example? It's kind of like similar to what you're saying, Sean, where it's like, yeah, you could do some of these, outsource strategy, but I would say it's similar to in how like I would work with a customer of that customer knows their business the best. I'm never going to be able to go in and be like 100% I understand everything about your business. And so it's a collaboration. It's yeah, I know, right? It's that's where it comes back to like collaboration and teamwork and leveraging it for pieces, but not everything. It you know, you're not going to know everything. The AI is not going to know everything at this point.
Yeah, we recently mutually parted ways with a customer because the guy that ended up bringing us on, I respect him a ton. But the way that he pitched us internally was like this like magic bullet company that they're like, look, they're gonna like come in and they're gonna solve all of our problems and they're gonna like fix churn. This guy was hired to fix churn, and I should have just realized at that point that it wasn't gonna work out, and it was just one of those things where it was impossible. Like we tried to like engage with them on principles of like scientific thinking. The scientific method where it's like, okay, like what's your hypothesis on what's causing churn? Because what we can do is like we can run some tests across your hypotheses to figure out like, hey, what do we challenge first? Because like there is no single thing that causes churn, right? It is multiple factors of different things, and what you should do first is you should try to understand how much it's contributing to your underlying loss. And they didn't know. Like they were like, they were like, well, that's like not what we agreed to. Like we agreed to like have your AI look at our data. And I'm like, yeah, we did, but you have to like point it at something. Sean, go for it.
I was actually trying to hit mute and I hit the hand raise button, so I apologize to everybody. Like you're on mute now.
Oh, now
watch
you're
this, watch
muted.
this, watch this. Yeah, it goes
Yeah,
up
that
and
was
down.
that's
Sorry.
really bizarre.
Oh, interesting. Raise the roof. That's
Should
funny.
we? This was our best episode yet, as always. Thanks to
You
Hannah.
say that every week.
I don't think I
feel
have,
like
but I
feel
probably
like this was
will.
like kind of the gloomiest, like doomiest and gloomiest episode we've
Yeah,
had.
let's end with 3 things we're excited about with AI.
Do it.
We need to
Do
talk
it.
about something positive.
Tell me.
Okay. Well, number one, I think there's going to be major medical breakthroughs in how we diagnose and treat different diseases, which is amazing. Number two, I think it allows people to do more with less. And so, like we talked about earlier, all of the little guys have just as much of a chance as the big guys with the bigger budgets and bigger teams. Um, and number three, I think it makes life a lot more interesting. I think there's more that you can do, and you know, it allows you to have the time to really think critically and creatively, and be able to, you know, work on different interesting projects.
I love those.
Sean?
Oh God. And I think the biggest one to me is that it makes everything feel more possible, right? Like for years, I think there's been a whole set of people who have had ideas that have felt out of reach because I'm not an engineer. How could I ever do this? Or I'm not a X. How can I do this? And we've reached a point where, you know, I mean, we talked about the guy who built and sold Base 44 in less than a year and made $80 million. Like, even if it's not to that grandiose of a scale, the barrier to entry has been massively reduced. And so even if you can't get to a full scale production ready app where it's ready for enterprise, right? You can get an MVP and you can get enough traction to find a partner and or decide if you're going to have fit. And I think that's pretty cool as just a curious person. So that's one. Two, yeah, I think Hannah spot on the medical side and also just like the cost of delivery of some of these things will, you know, I think that we should see more equitable distribution of resources and access to things, just because you know, you can spin up a copycat, or you can, you know, cost to produce things will go down. And number three, yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of made work more fun, to be honest, right? Like we spend a lot of time. I mean, it's kind of goes back to my first point, but like just brainstorming on like wackadoo ideas that you could try, and there are things that now we can try. Like we don't have a content team over here or videographers or anything like that, but last week or maybe the week before, Tom and I spent like 4 hours brainstorming a bunch of really cool creative campaign ideas, and like they're in motion now. And a large part of that's because we can do stuff that we would have had to pay an absolute boatload of cash for before.
Right.
Yeah.
AI has given us Ted Lasso energy. We believe we can do a lot more.
I love that. That's going to be a short right there.
And that's the title of the
AI has
episode for
given
sure.
us
Yeah.
AI has given us Ted Lasso energy. I really like that. That's a great title, actually. Hannah Carlson says
Oh,
AI
just
has given
end it
us
right now. I'll never think of anything better.
just like hard stop, just like
And
Just hang
that's
up.
the episode. And cut.
my three. I'll do my three because this is good. Number one is I think we are going to save a ton of human time. Like there is a lot of like time wasted, I think, with people doing things that I don't fundamentally think that humans should do. Right? Like the equivalent of like the copy paste with a minor change, all of the tasks that we have to do in our day-to-day lives that look like some version of that, I think are just gone. It's as easy as, we used to have to employ, KPMG used to employ 50,000 people a year to just like go down a row of a column and multiply every number together. And we just don't have to do that anymore. Like the spreadsheet killed that. I think that this is like that sort of step change is like functional programming got rid of like repetitive black box tasks. This will get rid of repetitive gray box tasks. Which I think leads to people being foundationally a lot more creative. I think that there are quite a lot of, it's the exact same thing that you said, Hannah, where because you can take a lot of because you can use your time more wisely and try a lot more campaigns, it lets you use your human energy to do fun things that can't be automated, like the cookie thing. And I think we'll just see a lot more creativity, right? I think we'll see a lot more. The value of human artwork will go up. The value of creativity, the expectation on creativity is just going to make the world hopefully like a more beautiful, more interesting place. And then the last one I think is like, it's kind of what Sean said, but in a different way, which is I think it blurs the lines between silos. Like, I think that before a salesperson, like I see this with Sean, I see this with Braden, I see this with Karis, I see this with Kendra. These are people that we hired to, in some cases do somewhat technical tasks, but they're not engineers. Like they are all shipping code now. Like our webinar site was created by a sales guy. Like he has never written a line of code in his life, and it is now the way that people go to our website to book a webinar. It is just,
That's so
he
cool.
pointed it at our production site. It copied all of the exact CSS underneath the hood, and it just looks like an active part of our website. It's a little bit, there's probably like little broken things here and there that we haven't looked at, but it took him less than an hour to spin that thing up. We were like in Vegas and he did the whole thing like after a conference one day. Karis and Kendra, like whenever our customers complain about something, they used to have to file a bug ticket and it would go into the backlog. Now, 70% of the time, they're just like, oh, like this seems like a minor bug. Let's just fix it. And they will use Cursor or whatever to go into our production code. They know how to test it. We've written the environment pretty well to be able to run those tests, and they fix the bug themselves without ever having to talk to engineering. I myself, like I have 2 Cursor tabs running right now trying to run an experiment while I'm working on this podcast. And every so often I'll take a look at it and it's like, oh, is it prompting me to do something? I can hit go. But I'm writing lines of code as this podcast is going, and I was never a production grade engineer. And so, there's a lot of things that way, right? And like it goes the other way too. Like I was never a salesperson, and now I can spin up campaigns really, really quickly and automate them. I don't know. It's just cool.
Yeah.
It just like brings the TAM of each available task to anyone who can be creative. I do think it probably brings down the value of technical people a little bit. I do think that like I do think like the world and the world where a Facebook engineer gets paid $800,000 to be in charge of like the like button is probably going to be dead in a few years, but maybe it should be. So I will.
know.
That is like that's gloomy for him, I guess.
Yeah.
On the side note of let's try and end this on a positive note. There you go. Thanks.
No, I think
for
that's
the
good. I
rousing
think that that's good.
talk.
I think that that's good. I think that that's good. I don't know.
Okay, let's call it here. Let's Hannah,
I think that that's
this has
good.
been fun.
Give us your
If-
hot takes, I guess, on anything borderline.
If people want to work with Inertia Growth or they want to hear from you, what is the right way for them to reach out?
Yes, so they can find me on LinkedIn, Hannah Carlson, or they can go to inertiagrowth.com.
Beautiful. We'll link those in the show notes. This was a ton of fun. Even the dark and depressing times were so
This
fun.
is not dark and depressing. It's good. It's good
It's-
things.
I feel like the episode was mostly positive, actually.
Great.
I think
okay.
the
think it-
episode was mostly positive.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it depends, like, how
I'm
you
just
look
in
at
the feels
things.
today.
Honestly, I think there's a big correlation, not to like get down a rabbit hole, but I think there's a big correlation with the people that are kind of doom and gloom about AI are probably doom and gloom about a lot of things. Versus I tend to be a more optimistic person. And so I view it as a very positive thing to society.
No, it is definitely a positive thing to society. Anyone who says otherwise is lying. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Nuance is good. Nuance is good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fair.
All right.
Glad
well,
we could
thanks, everyone.
get the band back together.
Oh,
Woo!
pun intended, team.
Pun intended. And that's where we end. Goodbye. Have a great day, everyone.